Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. You guys sent in some really fascinating stuff for us to look at about sustainable cities.
Yeah, I've got reports on these smart cities, articles about renewable energy
Even case studies.
from places like,
Singapore, Copenhagen.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's kind of grappling with the same question, right? Like, how do we make our cities more sustainable?
Yeah, definitely. And what's really interesting is how all these different sources approach that question from these totally different angles.
Right. Some are all about the technology.
Yeah, cutting edge stuff.
Others focus on the human side of things.
But they all come back to the same core challenge, which is this crazy rapid growth of cities we're seeing.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. Like by 2050, 70% of the world's population is going to be living in cities. 70%.
Yeah, that's like the majority of humanity crammed into these urban centers. And it's only going to put more and more pressure on everything.
Oh, yeah. Resources, infrastructure, the environment.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a little daunting. Like a lot of cities just weren't built to handle this many people.
Right. They weren't designed for this level of density.
Exactly. So we're not just talking about crowded subways and traffic jams here.
Oh, no.
It's about these aging water systems
Power grids that are already strained.
and this constant demand for more of everything.
Yeah, it's like trying to fill a bathtub with a teaspoon. You're never going to catch up.
Exactly. And that's why this whole smart city concept is so intriguing, because it's looking at how technology can help us manage all this complexity more efficiently.
Right. It's about making our cities more responsive and sustainable by using data and smart systems.
Yeah, precisely. So imagine sensors all over the city,
Okay.
tracking everything in real time.
Like what? Give me some examples.
I'm talking traffic flow, energy consumption, air quality,
Wow.
and then all that data is used to optimize how the city functions.
So it's not just about having fancy gadgets. It's about using that information to make smarter decisions.
Exactly. And we're already seeing some really cool examples of this in action.
Okay, like what?
Well, take Singapore, for instance.
Oh, yeah, Singapore. Always ahead of the curve.
Right. They've implemented this AI-powered traffic management system that predicts congestion
Whoa.
and adjusts traffic lights accordingly.
So it's like the city is thinking ahead and redirecting traffic before it even becomes a problem.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's actually been incredibly effective.
Really?
They've managed to reduce traffic jams by almost 20%.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, a win-win.
Yeah.
Less time wasted sitting in traffic.
And lower emissions.
Exactly. So it shows how smart city technology can actually contribute to a more sustainable future.
Okay, so we're starting to see how these smart systems can make cities more efficient and eco-friendly.
Right.
But all these sensors and networks and AI, they need power, right? Are we just trading one problem for another?
That's a great question. And it brings us to another key piece of the puzzle, which is renewable energy.
Okay, so how does that fit in?
Well, think about a city like Copenhagen.
Oh, yeah, Copenhagen. They're like the poster child for sustainability.
They really are. And they've set this ambitious goal to become completely carbon neutral by 2025.
Carbon neutral meaning they produce as much clean energy as they consume.
Exactly. And they're doing this through a combination of strategies.
Like what? Fill me in.
Well, of course, they've invested heavily in wind turbines and solar panels.
Makes sense. Harnessing that natural power.
Right. But they're also doing something really cool, which is using the city's waste to generate energy.
Well, wait, so they're turning their trash into treasure.
Basically, it's a really innovative way to reduce landfill waste and create a more circular system.
Okay, so we've got smart tech using data to make cities more efficient, and we've got renewable energy powering those systems in a sustainable way.
Right.
But aren't we forgetting something here?
Yeah.
Cities are about people, not just algorithms and energy grids.
You're absolutely right. And that's why community involvement is so essential to creating truly sustainable cities.
So it's not enough to just have the tech and the infrastructure in place.
No, it's about creating spaces where people feel connected to their community and empowered to make a difference.
Okay, I like that. But what does that look like in practice?
Well, there's so many different ways that communities can get involved. It could be something as simple as starting a community garden or organizing a neighborhood cleanup.
Right.
Or it could involve advocating for policy changes that promote sustainability.
So it's about giving people a voice and a stake in shaping the future of their city.
Exactly. And there's some amazing examples of cities that have really embraced this approach.
Okay, like who?
Well, take Medellin, Colombia, for example. They had these neighborhoods that were isolated and dangerous because they were cut off from the rest of the city by these steep hillsides.
Oh, wow, that's a tough situation.
It was. But they came up with this brilliant solution, which was to connect these neighborhoods to the city center with cable cars and escalators.
Cable cars, that's so cool.
It is. And it wasn't just about improving transportation. It was about giving these communities access to opportunities and a sense of belonging.
So it's about more than just building cool infrastructure. It's about making sure everyone benefits from it.
Precisely. And that's what creating a truly sustainable city is all about.
It's about thinking holistically, taking into account the needs of all the people who live there.
Yeah, it's about creating a city that works for everyone, not just a select few.
This is making me rethink what a city can be. It's not just concrete and chaos. It's like this living, evolving system.
That's a great way to put it. And that evolution is happening right now. We're seeing all these incredible ideas emerging.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, one of the most exciting concepts is this idea of a circular economy.
A circular economy. What's that?
It's about shifting from this linear model of take, make, waste to a more closed-loop system where resources are constantly reused and waste is minimized.
Okay, so it's like a city that functions more like a natural ecosystem.
Exactly. And it's not just some futuristic fantasy.
No.
There are cities that are already starting to put these principles into practice.
Okay, for real. Give me some examples.
Well, Amsterdam and Stockholm are really leading the way.
Okay, I can see that.
They're implementing circular economy principles at a city-wide scale.
What does that even look like?
I'm talking buildings that generate their own energy,
Wow.
systems that recycle water,
Amazing.
and they're producing almost zero waste.
This is blowing my mind. So we've got smart tech, clean energy-empowered communities, and now cities that are practically self-sufficient. This is incredible.
It really is, and we're just scratching the surface here.
Wait, there's more.
Oh yeah, we haven't even touched on things like urban farming, green infrastructure, the role of data privacy in a hyper-connected city.
Okay, hold on. My brain needs a moment to process all this.
I hear you. It's a lot to take in, but it's also incredibly exciting.
It is. I can't wait to dive deeper into all these different aspects of sustainable cities.
Me too. There's so much more to explore and so much potential for creating a better future for everyone.
Well, let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and unpack some of these ideas in more detail. Okay, I feel like we just drank from a fire hose of urban innovation there. So many cool ideas.
Right. And you know what's really striking to me
What's that?
is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution to sustainability.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What works in one city might be a total flop in another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every city has its own unique context.
Right. Its own challenges, its own resources.
Exactly. So it's not about just copying and pasting solutions from one place to another.
It's about finding what works best for each specific situation.
And that brings us to something that I think is super important.
Okay, lay it on me.
This whole idea of social equity.
Ah, yeah. Making sure that sustainability doesn't just benefit the privileged few.
Exactly. It's about making sure that everyone in the city benefits from these advancements.
Right, because what's the point of having a super eco-friendly city if only a small portion of the population can actually afford to live there?
Exactly. Sustainable cities need to be inclusive spaces where everyone has access to things like affordable housing,
Okay.
reliable transportation,
Right.
healthy food options.
And green spaces.
Exactly. It's not just about reducing emissions, it's about creating a more just and equitable society for everyone.
I love that. So are there any cities that are doing this well, like really putting social equity at the forefront of their sustainability efforts?
Oh, absolutely. Portland, Oregon's a great example.
Okay, what are they doing?
Well, they've implemented a bunch of policies to make sure that affordable housing is integrated into new developments.
Oh, wow. So it's not just like relegating all the low-income housing to the outskirts of town.
No, they're really trying to create mixed-income communities.
I like that.
And they've also invested heavily in their public transportation system.
Okay, makes sense. Making it easier for people to get around without having to rely on cars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about looking at the big picture and making sure that everyone has access to the resources and opportunities they need to thrive.
I'm really digging this idea of a city that's designed for people, not just for cars or profits.
Me too. And you know, another big piece of this puzzle
Yeah, what's that?
is citizen engagement.
Okay, so getting people involved in the process?
Exactly. It's about empowering people to be part of the solution,
Uh-huh.
not just passive recipients of it.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's the people who live in the city who are gonna make or break these sustainability efforts.
Absolutely. And you know what's really cool?
Right.
It doesn't always require these grand gestures or huge policy changes.
Okay, so like what are we talking about here?
I'm talking about things like community gardens.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Right. It's a small thing.
Yeah, but it brings people together.
Exactly. It gives them a sense of ownership over their neighborhood,
Yeah.
and it connects them to the food they eat.
It's like this tangible way to experience sustainability in action.
And those experiences can spark a deeper understanding of these issues and a desire to get more involved in creating change at a larger scale.
So it's like starting small can actually lead to bigger changes down the road.
Exactly. And when those small actions are combined with a real commitment to education and awareness,
Yeah.
that's when you start to see a real cultural shift towards a more sustainable way of life.
So it's not just about changing our cities, it's about changing our mindset.
You got it. It's
Sure.
about recognizing that we're all in this together and that we all have a role to play in creating a more sustainable future.
Okay, I'm totally on board with all this, but we've got to be realistic here.
Okay.
There are also potential downsides to some of these solutions, right? Like all the smart city technology. What about privacy concerns?
That's a super valid point. We can't just blindly embrace technology without thinking about the potential consequences.
Right, because with all these sensors collecting data about our every move, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's definitely something we need to be mindful of. It's crucial that cities have strong privacy policies in place to protect citizens' rights.
So it's about finding that balance between harnessing the power of technology
Right.
and safeguarding individual liberties.
Exactly. And we need to be having these conversations as a society.
For sure. Like what happens to all this data? Who has access to it? These are important questions.
Absolutely. And we also need to be aware of the potential for technology to exacerbate existing inequalities.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, for example, if smart traffic systems are only optimizing traffic flow in affluent areas,
Right.
it could further marginalize communities that lack access to reliable transportation.
That's a really good point. We need to make sure that technology is being used to bridge the gap, not widen it.
Exactly. So building sustainable cities, it's not just about finding the right technologies, it's about navigating these complex systems and making sure that everyone benefits.
Okay, so it's a lot more nuanced than I initially thought.
It definitely is. It requires a holistic approach, taking into account the social, economic, and political realities of each city.
Wow, you've given me a lot to think about. It's clear that building sustainable cities is a lot more complex than just slapping some solar panels on every roof.
It's about taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture,
Yeah,
considering all the different factors at play.
and making sure that everyone has a seat at the table
Exactly. It's a challenge, but it's also an incredible opportunity.
to create a better future for everyone.
Precisely. And that's what makes this field so exciting. It's about pushing boundaries, challenging assumptions, and constantly learning and adapting.
It's about being innovative and creative and compassionate all at the same time.
Exactly. It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it.
I love that. Okay, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this conversation.
We have.
And I feel like we're just scratching the surface of this whole sustainability thing. Man, we've covered some serious ground in this deep dive. I mean, from smart tech to circular economies to social equity, it's clear that sustainable cities are about way more than just green gadgets.
Yeah, it's really about a whole new way of thinking about how we live and interact with our urban environments.
And what's been really cool to see is how all these different ideas are starting to connect and come together.
Yeah, it's not just about individual solutions. It's about creating a holistic system.
Exactly. And it's got me thinking, we've talked a lot about the technical aspects of sustainability.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts of making it all work.
Right. But I feel like there's another piece of the puzzle that we haven't really explored yet.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Really? What is it?
The power of storytelling.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but how does that fit into all this?
Well, think about it. Facts and figures are important.
Yeah, for sure.
They give us the data we need to make informed decisions,
Right.
but they don't always stick with us.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Like, I can read a report about climate change and feel totally overwhelmed by all the statistics.
Exactly. But if you hear a personal story
Mm.
about someone whose life has been directly impacted by climate change,
Yeah.
it can have a much more profound effect on you.
Right. Because it makes it real. It makes it relatable.
Exactly. Stories have the power to tap into our emotions, to make us care, and to inspire us to action.
So instead of just talking about abstract concepts like sustainability,
Right.
we need to paint a picture of what a sustainable future could actually look like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine telling the story of a family who who no longer worries about their energy bills because their home is powered by solar panels,
Okay. Yeah.
or a child who can safely bike to school on dedicated bike paths,
Love it.
surrounded by trees and green spaces.
It's about making sustainability tangible, something that people can connect with on a personal level.
And stories can also help us shift the narrative around sustainability.
Ooh, how so?
Well, instead of seeing it as a burden or a sacrifice,
Yeah.
we can start to see it as an opportunity to create a more just equitable and joyful world.
So it's not about giving things up, it's about creating something better.
Exactly. And I think that's a much more inspiring message.
For sure, but how do we actually put this into practice? Like, how do we tell stories that resonate with people and actually inspire action?
Well, I think we need to start by showcasing the amazing work that's already happening.
Okay.
The community activists,
The innovators.
the everyday citizens who are leading the charge for a more sustainable future.
Love it. Shine a spotlight on the heroes of sustainability.
Exactly. Their stories are powerful and inspiring, and they can show us what's possible.
And we can encourage everyone to share their own stories, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about creating a collective narrative
Yeah.
that celebrates our shared responsibility for the planet.
So it's about building a movement, a groundswell of support for a more sustainable future.
And that movement can be powered by personal stories and shared experiences.
It's like a tapestry woven together from all these individual threads.
Beautiful analogy. And when you see that tapestry in its entirety, it's truly awe-inspiring.
It shows us that we're not alone in this fight.
Exactly. And it gives us hope that a better future is within reach.
Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive, what's one key message you want to leave our listeners with?
That's a good one. I think I'd say this. The future of our cities is not predetermined. We have the power to shape it, to create communities that are resilient, equitable, and full of life. It starts with each of us asking ourselves, what kind of world do we want to live in, and what role can we play in creating it?
That's a powerful message. Thanks for sharing your insights with us today. It's been an amazing conversation.
My pleasure. It's been great exploring these ideas with you.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through the world of sustainable cities. We hope you've learned as much as we have and that you're feeling inspired to be part of the solution. Remember, even small actions can create a ripple effect. So go out there and be the change you want to see in your city and in the world. Until next time.